Once you've fused on your foam onto your main fabric that you've chosen, you want to just cut around the edges 1/4 of an inch seam allowance going around here, and then you want to save these pieces because we're going to be using those later on. And what we're going to do now is to sew the foam into place. So you're going to go around each of these rectangles, the top, middle and bottom, and then just along the joiny edges on these 4 ones here. And I'm going to be using 1/4 of a seam allowance to do that. Okay. Right, so I've gone around all the edges and sewn them into place. Now the next stage I'm going to do is add a bit of quilting decoration to mine. You can skip this stage if you so wish, but I'm going to add some diagonals, I think, across here and across these ones here for my basket. Okay, I'll see you back in a minute. Right, so I've just finished doing the quilting effect on my basket. If you wanted to do this, my approach was to mark out 1 inch gaps along the long side and going across, and drawing those lines and then going over that with the sewing machine. So you can see I've got a few things to tidy up here. The next stage that you're going to do is we're going to fold this right sides together, and you're going to take these 2 halves and make sure they match up, and we're going to sew across here and do the same on the other side. Okay? Okay, so we've just sewn those 2 edges together and those 2 together, so you can start to see our basket taking shape now. What we're going to do now is match these corners and sew across here and do the same across there. As you can see, we've now turned the basket inside out, and with the foam it gives it really nice structure. We've got our corners all closed and we've got our nice quilting on here. So the next stage is going to go onto the lining and creating the divider inside the lining. Right, the next stage is the lining. Using your template, you need to cut your fabric on the fold and then cut that fold line so you've got 2 pieces like this. You also need your 5 inch squared piece. I've got the scraps that I cut out from the basket. Right, for this section, for my 5 inch square, obviously I put them right sides together, did my stitch across here, folded it out, pressed the top, and then I've just decided to add some stitching going down the length of this. So you've got some raw edges here, here and here, and you're going to place the bottom raw edge against the gap in the lining here, and that's going to be sandwiched on top. And it is best to use a fabric pen, mark of some sort, and you are going to stitch right to the edge of where that fabric is, making sure that you're back stitching as well. So I'm going to go from here backwards and forwards to here backwards and forwards to sandwich that inner panel, which will create the divide in our basket. Right, so the next stage, we've now got this attached to the base of our lining basket, and we are going to turn this back over, and on these corners where the seam is just there, we're just going to make a little snip in the fabric. We'll do the same on this side. Then what you're going to do, if you open it back out, you're going to be folding this edge across here and lining up with your divider, and you're going to do the same that side. So you're going to start to move that fabric, lining it up across here, and then you're going to sew from there all the way across, and you're going to do the same on the other side. Okay? Right, so the next stage, we've done the edges there and at the bottom. We're now going to pull this apart and centre that seam, and you're going to sew across here and do the same on the other side. Okay, so now we've got our divider panel inserted. We are going to start doing the ends. What you're going to do is pick up both ends here, right sides together, and you're going to sew across the top there and do the same on the other side. Now this is quite an exciting bit. This is where you put your lining of the basket into your basket, and what you want to do is clip it or pin all around the edge and make sure it's nice and smooth inside, ready for the next stage, which will be securing this in place with your sewing. Okay, so the next stage is going to be sewing around the top, and you can see that I have pinned mine in place, the lining, and I've put a lot of pins in. I've pinned the lining to the bottom, to each side, and then I've just used these clips just to clip the top bit in place. You obviously could use pins as well. So because we've got overlapping fabric here, if you wanted to, you could trim this down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1/4 inch seam allowance down from here and go all the way around and then trim it afterwards. Right, so now we've finished the basket. You can see we have sewn all the way around the edge, trimmed the edging off. We're now going to create some handles either side, and you can make these any size and width that you would like. I have just got the scraps from my lining, and I've measured out 4 inches across for the width and 19 down here. So I'm going to cut this out, give it a press with the iron, and then I'm going to fold this in half and sew together, turn inside out, and then start creating the handle. Maybe do some stitching going downwards to make a bit of a feature of the handle, and then I will obviously attach it to the bag. So let's get started. Right, so we've got the straps done. As you can see, I divided the length of 19 inches in half and sewed them together, and then added a bit of decoration on here. And what we're going to do is attach these now to the top of the bag. So I'm just going to go towards my join line here, and I will clip those in place and just attach them across the top here, and do that on either side. Okay. So now the handles are attached to here and on this side. What we need to do now is to create a bias binding to go all the way around here, and in order to do that you'll need your tape measure. And measure out the length that you need. mine's 29 inches, so I'm going to give another inch to that and make it 30. Now this is a bit of fabric that I've got left, so I'd want my bias or my edging to be probably no more than about half an inch around there. So I'm going to cut out about 1.5 inches of this fabric, and obviously I don't have 30 inches across here, so I'm going to have to do that at adjoining 2 strips. Okay. Right, so as you can see, I cut the I've cut the fabric out, which is let's have a quick look. What did I do? I think I did 2 inches, which I have done, and mine was 15, about 17 inches long, and then I've joined them together, as you can see here. And what I'm doing at the moment is folding this in half, and then I am going to fold this edge in and press with the iron, and do the same with that side. So what we're creating is our own binding, and that will go in half around the edge of our box here, or basket here. Okay, so I'm going to get this done and then come back to you. So I've created the binding we're going to use, by just folding the fabric in half and pressing, and then folding each edge into the middle and pressing, so we have that to go around the edge of our basket. And I'm in the process of opening this up and placing the raw edge to the top of the raw edge of the basket and pinning that in place. So I'm going to go around the whole of the basket and pin that into place. Over the handles. Then come back round to the starting point. Okay, so where you have the bits that overlap, I'm just going to, it's a bit fiddly, join that one there, and just snip off the rest of that. Right, we're coming up to the last stage of our basket. Attach the first bit of the binding on, and now you're just going to lift it up all around the basket. Okay, so you can see that's our centre edge there and our middle edge there. And I'm just going to keep that first edge folded over. With the join line, it's a little bit tricky. Just have that folded over. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, with that edge folded, fold down to the centre line of our basket, and we're going to pin those in place all the way around like this, and then you're going to top stitch all the way around. Okay, I'll see you back once you've got that done. Right, so as you can see, I have clipped this all into place, and now we're going to go on to the tricky bit, which is this top stitching all the way round. So when you're top stitching, you want to be going across here, and at the same time you're going to be catching the inside of that binding as well. Okay. Right, so we've now finished our basket and we've got the handles on here, which is great. We've done the top stitching. That was very tricky. I've gone around twice on mine. I might go around again. I had quite a bit of movement on my one, so I think I'd pin it again down more next time. But here we have, you can put your fat quarters in here. You can store it, use it as a storage container for anything you'd like. You put flowers in it. There we have it, your very own basket.
Is it